believe it or not, I was once the size that was the case down. And that's about when my dad got me into racing when I was about that size, and I've been doing it about the last 10 years. I've raced sprint and endurance go-karts all over the country, and it's kind of brought me to where I am today. And I remember when I was that size, just going out, and I'd like to tinker on everything, take things apart, and figure out how it works, and the obsession's just got me worse today. So I'm always kind of honored to tell this story because I feel like I'm bringing on a good tradition in my family of how my great-grandfather was a blacksmith. My grandfather raced boats, my dad's an engineer, and I'm actually going to University of Akron next year for mechanical engineering, and I'll be leaving right after this service to go to orientation up there. So when a water droplet containing a little bit of dissolved oxygen falls onto a piece of steel, the iron under the water droplet oxidizes. The formula for this is Fe, which is solid iron, turns into aqueous iron with negative electrons in it. The solid iron, the electrons are quickly consumed by the hydrogen in the water, and that causes the iron to go and oxidize. I've had to deal with this more than my fair share in the last 2 years building my full custom 1972 Volkswagen Combi. When I bought the car, I had no idea what I was getting into. I'd been begging my parents for years to go and let me get a project car because a bunch of guys I really respected did it, and my freshman year of high school, that was all I could think about. So my dad had always said that there's either racing or a private car because he thought he'd have to do all the work on it. So like any good son, I asked my mom. I'll never be able to thank her enough for believing me that day and taking that $1,500 chance on me on that hot summer day on the 1972 matte black Volkswagen that with a rusted out floor pan and a 34 Solex carburetor that needed a rebuild. That one gamble she took has changed my whole life because it's taken up all my time and energy the last 2 years, and I wouldn't want it any other way. The first thing my brother and I did was clean out the carburetor and blow out the fuel lines to get all the corroded gasoline out of it. And so, of course, once we got it running fine, we had to take it for a test drive. We were flying around my neighborhood, no matter that the brake lines rusted out or you could put your foot through the floor, and scared a few moms driving around in Mercedes and the old rusted out VW. After I took the car to get soda blasted, we took the 6 thick coats of paint off, and I found over an inch of Bondo on the whole car. So I spent the next year grinding off all the Bondo, which only covered up a bunch of rusted metal. So I had to cut out almost every body panel on the car and form new ones and weld them all in. This may seem like an easy process, using a bunch of body hammers and just bending some metal into a shape you like. But it's next to impossible because every time you bend a piece of metal in one shape, every other part on the sheet will bend a different way. It was always fun having family friends come over to see the car because it was cut into so many different pieces and sitting 5 feet high on the car lift. Many could not even tell what it was because it was in such a state of disassembly. But I never lost the dream of what it looked like at the end. I didn't quite know I was just going off a bunch of different how other people have built theirs, but I still had that dream going. There was more 90-degree days than I could count of burning up in long work pants and a long sleeve shirt and frustrated because the car, I couldn't get the welds done properly on it and the metal wouldn't bend how I liked. I can thank 5 years of wrestling my parents for those days because they gave me the mindset that yes, it's annoying, but it has to get done, so let's get back to work. Once all the metal work on the car was done, it was finally time to take it out to paint. The paint job I thought would take 3 days ended up taking 3 months. We decided to do a crazy blue candy paint job on the top of the car to show off a radical metal grind pattern below it and to show off all the metal work that I'd done. After all the paint was done, I decided 34 horsepower wasn't enough for me. So I needed to go and build the whole motor because going fast is cool. So instead of the 36 horsepower it had when it was stock, it has about 150 now. This was only a few $1,000s in parts, but if one clearance in the motor was off by over 0.003 of an inch, it could cause oil pressure to be lost and metal parts to be grinding at over 5,000 revolutions per minute, which would cause the engine to pretty much self-destruct itself. So you could say it was a little bit stressful. And yet, like everything else in the car, I had a few hiccups along the way. But I've had the motor spinning hard for hours, and it still runs just fine. I'm not talking about the wiring in the car because it was an annoying, confusing mess, and I don't like thinking about it. Last but not least was the suspension, because all the attitudes and altitude. I decided to do a common suspension change which was narrowing the front beam by 4 inches. This means I can bring the tires in close to the wheel wells so I can have the car sit even lower. So at this point, it's sitting about 1 inch off the ground, but also the air suspension helps a little bit out with that, so I can raise it back up to right height so I can drive around. I had to put my faith in my hands with this because re-welding the front beam, if one of the welds failed, you could lose all steering in it. I'd like to point out that after 2 years of welding, I've gotten very consistent with it, so that's not a worry. Just like everything else on the car, I made sure to do all the prep work and then paint it so I won't have to deal with rust on it again. So why am I bringing all this up? Yes, it makes for a good story. But why is this in my sermon? Well, there's 2 parts to it. First, as John writes in 17:15, I'm not asking you to take them out of the world, but I'm asking you to protect them from the evil. This line really spoke to me because it shows you can never get rid of stress, sadness, or even pain in the world. But just like on the UW, you have to push through it to get to your dream at the end of the tunnel. The second is also from John 17:13. But now I'm coming to you, and I speak these things in your words so you may know my joy and have it complete in yourselves. Seeing how many people's eyes have lit up when I've shown them the cover, told them my story, makes it more than worth it to see how much inspiration and love people can see through my eyes and through all the work I've done. I'm stepping into a new stage in my life and have many options and variables. But the one thing that will always be there is the need to enjoy the little things and share that joy with everyone else. Just like my mom took that chance on me 2 years ago, I want all of you to go out and take a chance today. Take a chance today and smile at a stranger or tell someone you love a happy story. Because sometimes the smallest things in life make the largest impacts.